The morning was meant to be light, friendly, and full of polite conversation. But when Meghan Markle sat across from Al Roker on the Today Show, the mood in the studio dropped like the temperature on a winter morning. What began as a regular celebrity chat quickly turned into a tense verbal exchange between one of America's most loved TV hosts and one of Britain's most debated royals. By the time the camera stopped rolling, everyone in the room knew they had just witnessed a television moment that would be remembered for years. It was just past 8 a.m. at Rockefeller Plaza. Outside, a crowd waved flags and held up signs, bundled up in coats against the crisp New York air. Inside, the studio gleamed with that early morning brightness. Warm lights, fresh flowers, and the scent of coffee drifting across the set. Al Roker straightened his notes, nodded at the floor manager, and smiled as the red light on the camera blinked on. "Welcome back to Today," he said smoothly. "Joining us now, actress, advocate, and former Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle." Polite applause echoed from the crew, a few claps from the production team. Meghan walked in gracefully, wearing an ivory blouse under a beige blazer, her hair falling in soft waves. She smiled, but it seemed practiced, polished, deliberate, controlled. "Good morning, Meghan," Al greeted warmly. "It's great to have you here." "Thank you, Al," she replied, crossing her legs neatly. "Always nice to be invited." Her tone was calm, but there was a thin edge to it, like silk covering steel. Al brushed it off with a laugh and leaned forward. "You've been quite busy lately. Public appearances, charity work, advocacy. What's been the most rewarding part of this new chapter for you?" Meghan tilted her head slightly, the faintest smirk forming. "You know, I'm always amused when people call it a new chapter. My life didn't start when I left the UK. Al, I was doing meaningful work long before the cameras noticed." The air shifted just a bit. Al nodded slowly, keeping his composure. "Of course," he said smoothly. "I just meant in terms of how life has changed since coming back to the States." "A lot of people are curious about how you and Harry have settled in." Meghan's smile tightened. "Settled in?" "There's nothing to settle into when you're finally allowed to breathe. We're happy centered." "People need to stop assuming that change equals chaos." Her words weren't loud, but sharp enough to make a few crew members exchange looks behind the cameras. "That's wonderful to hear," Al said lightly. "Family life seems to be treating you well." "Of course it is," Meghan answered quickly. "I know the tabloids love to invent stories, but the truth is simple. We're fine. Actually, we're great. Some people just have a hard time accepting that." Her eyes lingered on Al for a moment too long. He chuckled politely, but even his warmth couldn't smooth the growing tension in the room. "Let's talk about the royal family for a second," he said carefully. "There's been a lot of discussion about your time in the UK. Looking back, do you have any regrets about how things unfolded?" Meghan's lips curved, half smile, half warning. "Regrets? No, the real question is whether they have any. I made choices for my well-being, and people still seem allergic to that idea." Al gave a small nod, still calm. "That's a fair point," he said. "But you've spoken before about compassion and healing." "Exactly," she interrupted quickly. "And healing doesn't mean revisiting the past every time someone needs a headline?" The room went still. Even the steady hum of the lights seemed louder. Al took a slow breath and stayed professional. "All right," he said evenly. "Let's shift a little. How has life in California been for you and your family?" Meghan relaxed slightly, or at least she pretended to. "California is home. The sunshine, the openness. It's miles ahead of certain other places." "Like England?" Al asked with a small grin. Meghan arched a brow. "You said it, not me." Al laughed softly, trying to keep things friendly. "Do you ever miss it? The royal duties, the traditions?" "Miss it, Al?" she said, leaning forward. "No one misses being controlled by century-old customs. It's the 21st century. I prefer building my own traditions without the hierarchy." "Fair enough," Al replied, keeping his tone even. "You've also had quite a career shift. Any chance you might return to acting someday?" Meghan gave a quiet laugh, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "People love asking that. But I've moved on, Al. I don't live in reruns." He smiled thinly. "Of course, but your fans are wonderful," she interrupted again, "as long as they understand boundaries. I'm not a character anymore. I'm a person." There was a moment of silence before Al said softly, "Of course you are, and we're grateful you're sharing your story with us this morning." Meghan tilted her head, her smile tightening again. "Well," she said, "some stories are worth hearing." Others just keep getting retold by the wrong people. The music cue played for the commercial break. Meghan adjusted her blazer, her gaze lingering on Al as if daring him to ask more. The tension was subtle but heavy, like static in the air before a storm. In the control room, someone whispered what everyone was thinking: "This is going to blow up before the hour's over." When the broadcast returned, the tension had only deepened. The lights seemed brighter, the air heavier. Al straightened his tie, keeping that practiced smile. Meghan sat still, her posture perfect, fingers interlocked. "Welcome back to Today," Al said, steady as ever. "We're here with Meghan Markle, talking about her journey in life after the royal family." "If by after you mean finally living life on my own terms, then yes," she said lightly, though her eyes didn't soften. Al chuckled softly. "That's a good way to put it. You've talked a lot about freedom and independence. What does that look like for you these days?" "It looks like peace," she said. "It looks like waking up without someone telling me what to wear or how to smile." "That sounds liberating," Al replied, "but some say the media attention hasn't really gone away. Maybe it's even grown." "How do you handle that?" Meghan laughed, sharp and short. "Handle it? I don't handle it, Al. I rise above it. People can say whatever they want. It doesn't define me." Her tone had that same mix of control and defensiveness. Al pressed on gently. "You mentioned speculation. A lot of that surrounds your marriage. How are you and Harry doing these days?" "We're fine," she said quickly. "People love drama. But I'm sorry to disappoint. There's no trouble in paradise. Harry and I are solid, stronger than ever. We have a real marriage, not a performance." "That's good to hear," Al said mildly. "There were rumors about you living separately." "Rumors," Meghan snapped, "are what the media does best. Maybe that's why people struggle to know what's true anymore." Even the control room went silent. Al gave a small laugh to ease the air. "Well, we like giving our guests a chance to clear things up." "I didn't come here to clear anything," Meghan cut in. "I came here because people deserve to hear the truth from me, not from strangers writing headlines." Her tone was firmer now, her body language tighter. Al nodded calmly. "Understood. Let's move on. You've built a strong platform. Podcasts, documentaries, philanthropy. What's next?" "Next is growth," Meghan said smoothly. "Evolution. I don't follow anyone else's timeline. My work is about purpose, not profit, though I know that's hard for some people to understand." There it was again, polite words with a sting beneath them. Al kept his voice even. "Speaking of purpose, you recently attended an event in London during a royal ceremony. Some thought the timing was deliberate." "You mean, did I plan my life around their calendar?" she asked with a small laugh. "That's cute." "It's just that people noticed the overlap," Al said lightly. "People notice everything," Meghan replied. "That's what happens when you live rent-free in the public's imagination." "But I'm not playing royal games." "I earned my place," her tone sharpened again. "Do you still speak with them?" Al asked carefully. Meghan paused. "Some relationships are better left in peace," she said finally. "Even with Kate and William?" he asked gently. "I'm not here to discuss people from my past," she said, cutting him off. "It's funny how people care more about who I text than what I actually do." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Al forced a smile. "All right, let's go lighter. How's life in America compared to the UK?" "Oh, it's incomparable," she said instantly. "The freedom, the creativity, the diversity. It's a far cry from the gray skies and gossip chains of the UK here. I get to choose who I am every day." "That sounds wonderful," Al said gently. "Though you are admired in Britain as well." "Admired?" she said with a wry smile. "I'd say criticized, villainized, maybe even targeted. But sure, let's call it admiration." Her tone cut like glass. Al's smile faltered just a bit before he recovered. "One last question before the break," he said. "Would you ever return to acting?" Meghan laughed softly. "Acting?